friends, I am Arpit and I am here with today's analysis. Today is 11th of April and we are going to discuss how invasive species threaten the natural ecosystem. What are invasive species? These species are foreign species, means they are not endemic to that region. They have been introduced either by humans or by nature, and when they come to that particular foreign region, they procreate over there, they reproduce, become large in numbers, and then they start causing harm to the natural ecosystem. These species can be animals, plants, or even microorganisms. Like for example, we have a species of deer which was introduced by the Britishers in Andaman and Nicobar Island has now proven to be an invasive species because it is harming the ecosystem over there. That needs to be taken care of. So let's get into this and see what are invasive alien species. Now, we will be using this short form IAS over here, but this is not for Indian Administrative Services as we are, very much familiar with, but this is for invasive alien species. Now, what are invasive alien species? Invasive means they invade a particular region. So they are invading a particular region means they are coming from outside. They are alien to this region means they are not endemic to this region. They are foreigners. And species, these species can be animals or plants or microbes, microorganisms, they can be. They can be any. So in this particular topic, we're going to study about an animal which was introduced in Andaman and Nicobar Island, the cheetal, and which proved or has proven to become an invasive alien species over there in Andaman and Nicobar Island because it is causing harm to the local flora and fauna over there. So the Convention on Biological Diversity, CBD, which is basically a convention under United Nations, defines invasive alien species as species whose introduction and or spread outside their natural past or present distribution threatens biological diversity. Means if these species are spread beyond their natural habitat to some other habitat to which they are alien and there they cause harm to the biodiversity, then these species will be called as invasive alien species. Now, which kind of species are included? Animals, plants, fungi, even microorganisms, and can influence all kind of ecosystems. So this is what the definition is given by CBD is. Convention on Biodiversity is about invasive alien species. Now, when I talk about characteristics of invasive alien species, there are three major characteristics of invasive alien species. First is arrive, survive, and thrive. Arrive, how do they arrive? These invasive alien species, they can be introduced by the humans. Like for example, this cheetal deer, the example which we are discussing, was introduced by the Britishers over there in Andaman and Nicobar Island. Okay. So it is like this. Now need an introduction either through natural or human intervention. That is, they arrive. Another example of human intervention of an invasive species is eucalyptus trees. Eucalyptus trees were planted here in India. That tree was brought from Australia, and that tree had a very, I would say, comparatively short span of growing time, but that tree consumed a lot of water. So it sucked in all the water from the nearby areas where it was planted. As a result, in the nearby area, the vegetation died because the water was not available for them. That was all taken up by this eucalyptus trees. So that eucalyptus tree acted like an invasive alien species. Next is survive. They survive on native food resources. As I again give this example of eucalyptus trees. So the native resources or native food resource was the water available in that particular region. So it consumed all that, and that water was not left for the other species over there. They reproduced at a fast rate and edge out native species in the competition over resources, and this is how they thrive in that region. So they invade in that region, they are alien to that region, and they proliferate in that region. As a result, they are found there dominating, but the other species which were inherent or endemic to that region, they suffer. So that is why these invasive alien species are a danger. Now, the Wildlife Protection Act also of India defines what invasive alien species are. But the definition according to the Wildlife Protection Act is narrow. It is not broad like the definition given by Convention on Biodiversity. So let us look into the definition given by this Wildlife Protection Act about this invasive alien species. They are defined as species of animals or plants which is not native to India. So it is basically, pointing towards those species which have been brought into India from outside and whose introduction or spread may threaten or adversely impact wildlife or its habitat. So, it is specifically talking about the species which are alien to India. They have been brought into India from other, I would say, parts of the world, and then they consume the resources over here, leaving the endemic species struggling. So, this definition, according to the Wildlife Protection Act, is narrow. Why? Because it is not addressing what if any species is introduced from North India to South India or from mainland India to the islands, like this cheetal deer was introduced from mainland India to Andaman and Nicobar Island. It is now proven to become an invasive species over there. So, intra-country transfers are not taken into account by the Wildlife Protection Act, and this is the drawback in the definition of invasive alien species under the Wildlife Protection Act. This leaves out species within India, which might be invasive to a particular region, like the cheetal in Andamans, which are protected in mainland India but have become a menace in the island chain, that is Andaman and Nicobar Island. Now, cheetals in Andaman. So basically, they have been introduced in Ross Island. This is basically a spotted deer, and this Ross Island is officially known as the Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose Island. The Andaman and Nicobar Island administration recently sought help from the Wildlife Institute of India to how to tackle this menace, because this cheetals over there, they basically are having an undisturbed environment. They are reproducing and they are growing. Nobody's there to hunt them down, and they are consuming the very important grasslands, seeds, and all over there, which is basically creating such a situation over there that the regeneration of that grass is not able to happen, because these deers, the spotted deer, that is cheetal, is consuming them more and more, because their population has grown more and more. There's no one to consume them, no one to eat them. Like in the food chain above them is, let's suppose, the lion or the tiger, which feeds on them. So they are not there. So, and hence these these deers are there increasing. They're causing a lot of damage over there to the ecosystem. Now, when was the cheetal introduced in Andaman? Basically, it was introduced by the Britishers in early 20th century. It is native to mainland India, were introduced there. In having no natural predators, means there are no predators of these deers or competitors, and being good swimmers, cheetals swiftly spread across the Andamans. How have they impacted? Means how have they impacted the ecosystem over there? Studies have shown that the proliferation of cheetal in the Andamans has affected the regeneration of native vegetation. It is not allowing the native vegetation to regenerate, because grass needs time to regenerate. And since the population of these cheetals are increasing more and more, so they want food. So they go, even if this much grass is grown, they consume it. So regeneration, I would say, chance is not there with the grasslands. That is why, this is basically consuming the seeds, seedlings, grasses over there, not allowing that ecosystem to sustain. Now, how do invasive species dominate flora and fauna? Now, K. Sivakumar, a professor in the Department of Ecology and Environmental Sciences in Puducherry University, said that invasive species act as disruptors in the food chain and disturb the balance of ecosystem. So the food chain is, grasslands consumed by deer, deer consumed by the tiger, let's suppose, or lion. But this is the food chain. This is how things happen, and an ecological balance is maintained. But when these invasive species are introduced, the food chain breaks. In habitats where there is no competition, invasive species can dominate the entire ecosystem. For instance, in Kyola Deo Park, which is basically there in Rajasthan, the African catfish has been known to prey on waterfowls and migratory birds. And these waterfowls and migratory birds, they get eaten by the catfish, and the other species are left hungry, which used to feed on them. So this is basically the scene over there. The case of cheetal in Andaman also falls in this category because there is no competition to cheetals in Andaman. There are no predators of Andaman. Their population is increasing more and more, and the replenishment of grasslands over there cannot happen. That is why, or that is how invasive species are creating this menace over there. There's an economic impact also of invasive alien species. Now, in September 2023, the Intergovernmental Platform on Biodiversity and Ecosystem Services (IPBES) brought out an exhaustive report on invasive species. This report showed that around 37,000 established alien species were introduced worldwide, with roughly 200 new alien species introduced each year. Now, along with causing dramatic changes to biodiversity and ecosystems, it has caused a loss of $423 billion annually in 2019 alone. Now, as per India's National Biodiversity Plan of 2019, published by National Biodiversity Authority, the cotton mealy bug, the scientific name is Phenacoccus solenopsis, which is also an invasive species native to North America, which has severely affected cotton crops in the Deccan region, leading to yield losses. So those yield losses will be definitely accounted into economic losses due to invasive species. And invasive species in this case is the cotton mealy bug. Now, I hope you've understood what invasive alien species is, and now the MCQs with respect to this invasive alien species. First is, which of the following can be an invasive alien species? Plants, animals, microorganisms. Very simple question it is, I think, because I've talked about it as well. Second is, invasive species can cause disruptions in food chain. If there is no competition, then invasive species can dominate the entire ecosystem. Again, out of these two, you have to answer the correct one, which statement is correct out of these two. And this topic was relatively easy, so the MCQs also will be easy.